Hey everyone, RogueGold here, and today I want to talk about what we've seen so far from Season 1 within the Division 2, and what I believe Season 2 could change and bring to the table that can make it truly great. Before we get started, I just want to say thank you guys for all your support lately. April's been another awesome month for the channel, and hopefully May will be too, considering we should be getting the Foundry raid at some point. With that being said, let's hop right into this one. So, Season 1. What do we think of it so far? If I had to sum it up in one word, I might use lackluster. I won't say I'm disappointed, because it has added an extra layer onto the day-to-day endgame, and that is a refreshing change of pace. We have new things adding and being changed to the game practically every week that the season is active, and that's awesome from my perspective. It gives you actual objectives to go for beyond the usual grind for builds, exotics, or whatever, and that's valuable in my eye. What it does definitely lack, however, is any new content. There just isn't any at all. All the objectives to find the manhunt targets are tied to old content, and even the bounties for those targets take place in old areas. So that's not really helping the game with any replayability for the season itself or the game as a whole. Another aspect to Season 1 is the rewards. Here's what I think. The rewards for the leagues and global events are awesome, giving you a unique arm patch, backpack trophy, and guaranteed exotic cash. For the season track, however, that's where it gets interesting. I think up until the Coyotes mask at rank 35, the track is great. You're getting tons of new cosmetics, new gear sets, new named items, etc., all leading up to a new exotic. However, after 35, what's the point? The rewards are much more spaced out, and the majority of it are guns and gear that you can get anywhere else in the game. There's not even a sick reward at rank 100. I mean, what? That's like rule number 1 for any battle pass ever, is that you have to have a dope reward for the final rank. Here we get a colorful patch. Awesome. Also, it would take zero effort to max out the season rank. I was affected by that season rank reset way back when, losing, 40 levels, and I still got to rank 100 within the first 3 weeks it was up. And the thing lasts for 3 months? Maybe that's why they didn't put any cool reward at rank 100, is because they knew everyone would get there anyway. Okay, so that's Season 1. What can Season 2 do better? I know a lot of people don't like it when I or others do this, so I apologize if you're one of those people, but we're going to take a look across the pond to our good friends over on Destiny. Now, the reason I know people get upset for talking about Destiny when it comes to the Division is they say Div needs to just not copy Destiny, it needs to instead make its own path. Well, guess what? The Division devs ain't doing much. I don't know if I've said this in a video before, but I know I've talked in-game with people saying I think one of Division's biggest pitfalls is that the devs seem to have a fear of bringing ingenuity to the franchise. Don't get me wrong, Warlords brought a lot of content to the game, but at the same time, it was just about the safest play they could have made, period. More zones, more missions, more gear, boom. You're done. No new game-breaking modes to hook in old and new players alike, no new endgame activities save for legendaries, which were still technically reused content, just nothing. I'd say about the most inventive thing Warlords brought was Keener's Watch and the progression system it brought along with it. So yeah, I'm sorry if it offends you, but I'm not sorry for looking to Division's most direct competition in the genre for some ideas. It's known that Destiny is the more popular of the two, and they have an interesting take on seasons that I think Division could iterate on and make it their own. So let's take a look. I'm not going to pretend like I know the ins and outs of Destiny because I don't. The last time I actually played it somewhat regularly was back when Forsaken launched in 2018, but I do keep up with the game because, fun fact, Destiny 1 is actually my second most played game ever behind the Division 1. Before Division came around, Destiny was my game, similar to how Division is now and has been since 2016. So I do keep tabs on it. But anyway, from what I understand, each new season of Destiny brings some new form of content that the large majority of the season's progression is based around. Whether it's a new game mode or a new public event in the open world, something like that. It gives you powerful gear and can level up your season progression by a lot by partaking in it. That's my understanding of it anyway. Feel free to correct me down below if you're a Destiny player, but really the full context doesn't matter too much because I just want to work off of this basis for sharing my thoughts on how Season 2 could improve. So here's my main idea at its most basic. I'd scrap the current manhunt progression system via completing old content and opt for a similar system to Destiny where a new form of content is introduced that drives the entire season. And here's how I do it. Each season we see a set of 4 new targets leading to the final manhunt target who drops a new skill variant, same as it is now. I think that part of the system is fine, and the new skill variant as the ultimate reward of each season is a very satisfying reward in my eye. So we have these 4 targets. How do we take them down? Well, I'd have the devs bring us a new open world area every season where each of these targets would be taken on. Now you might be thinking that sounds super unrealistic, and I wouldn't say you're wrong, but it would only need to be the size of DZ South maybe, not huge. These zones could be on the outskirts of DC or New York or a whole new place altogether. The important part is that when the season launches, we identify that our primary targets are held up in this zone and we have to go take them out. Let's call them hot zones, just for reference's sake. So we get one new hot zone per season, roughly the size of DZ South. What goes on in there? Well, I say you just slot it into the current season system. Have a new target, global event, and leagues activating weekly, giving you a refreshing feel to the game, but with actual new content in areas to explore just to make it even cooler. So this time around, pretty much all the season's activities are tied to this hot zone. What goes on in there? Well, I can't believe I'm going to say it, but I think the devs should make this similar to what the experience of a PvE Dark Zone might feel like. Now I know, I'm like the biggest opposer to the idea of a PvE Dark Zone ever, but I feel that this would be the way to make it actually work. And the reason why I'd be okay with this is because it's not just another outlet for PvE loot, especially one that would likely trump any other loot source in the game. It'd be a cooperative, limited time zone while the season is active, where everyone can level their season ranks together and work towards the same ultimate goal. Now in my eye, that sounds like a lot more enticing and sensible plan than sacrificing one of the few pieces of content PvP players actually have just to add another farming loop to the dozens of options PvE players already have. This would actually have a purpose. So how would these hot zones work? Basically, they would be 12-player lobbies just like the Dark Zone that you can enter by yourself or in a team. Maybe there's one social hub along the perimeter of the zone that has crafting, recal, and all of that, and you have to fast travel to it from New York or DC to access the zone, and then from there you can enter into it. And so this is where they might borrow from Destiny's strategy a bit by having several different public events, or in Division's case, open world activities that are ongoing across the zone. They could be some of the ones we already have, or new ones entirely. And since it's a 12-player lobby, everyone could stick together and take these on as a massive cooperative team if they so choose. And basically, this would be the primary drive for the season. You do activities in this zone with other players and grind the XP. When global events come around, it spices up the gameplay in there and makes it a fun sandbox to play in. And then for the leagues, they could keep the same time trial aspects for some of the main missions, but then maybe those last two progress trackers that are usually kill X or burn Y turn into complete activity X, Y, or Z in a certain number of times in the hot zone, or kill a certain number of enemies in the hot zone, something like that. Now the big question is, how would the primary targets work? Well, I say it's time Division introduces its first ever open world bosses, and I'm not just talking about the ones that we've seen that can be soloed. I mean big bosses that take a lot of firepower to put down. Hence why we'd have 12-player lobbies. Now before I talk about what I imagine these fights might look like, let's talk about how they'd be summoned. So obviously we have 4 targets that are released on a staggered time frame leading to the final main target for the season. So each time a new target releases, they're now available to summon and fight within the hot zone. How would this be achieved? Well, I think one cool option could be that when you open your map, for each target that's currently released, you see a progress bar leading up to the point of them being spawned. And in order to achieve them spawning, the lobby has to cooperatively work together. Now this could be done in one of two ways, I feel. Either A, the lobby votes on which boss they'd like to be summoned, and then every subsequent activity completed slowly fills that bar to completion, or B, perhaps each target has a unique order of activities needing to be completed for them to be summoned. Something along those lines. This way, the targets take some effort to complete, but it's a bit more fun. For example, you could load into a hot zone lobby and see that they've got a boss 75% of the way summoned, so you can jump in and help them finish the progress. Just a bit more fun and engaging, you know? So once you fill up the bar, the boss spawns in the center of the zone in a big open area. Now obviously this thing needs to be able to prove a challenge for up to 12 players, but it shouldn't require super heavy mechanics like a raid boss, given it's more than likely that the lobby isn't communicating by voice. So here's what I do. Have every boss spawn in some giant APC tank or something like that. It has 2 to 3 weak points that could be moderately tanky for 12 players to take on, and at the point of those being destroyed, the machine gets blown up and the actual boss spawns out of it. Maybe they then have some badass rocket launcher or mortar strike they can use, but obviously would be much less of a threat to 12 people. And then once you take the boss down, you get your loot and your progress towards unlocking the final target. And of course you'd have ads spawning everywhere the whole fight to make it a challenge, and it'd just be a lot of chaotic fun. That's what I see this zone being. Not some hardcore challenge where the difficulty is turned up to a scale with 12 people, but just a fun sandbox to work together, get in some big fights, and to work on your season rank. The main game can be about sensible scaling and difficulty, but here it's about having fun. So the last thing to cover, I suppose, is what would happen once you unlock the final target. Now the interesting thing here is that we don't actually know what's going to happen once we do unlock Jupiter for Season 1. I believe it was Chris Gansler who told someone on Twitter that Jupiter wasn't just going to be another bounty like the smaller targets that have been so far. So what does that mean? A new main mission? A side mission? Or it actually just being another bounty and he was exaggerating? We don't know. So what I'll say, I'd like like to see Season 2 have, and what I hope Season 1 is going to have, is that there's an actual mission. It doesn't have to be a main mission because that complicates the whole open world system, but at least a replayable side mission that has some more substance than just a bounty. In this fictitious Season 2's terms, it could be a main mission within the hot zone that once you unlock it, you can go in and claim that sweet new skill variant. Alright guys, well that's a rough outline for how I might go about improving the season system for Season 2. By actually introducing some new content to the game that's relevant to your season progression, I think you could actually see some renewed engagement from the player base as opposed to some of what we're seeing now. And I didn't really go into it yet, but if the devs were to make some of the rewards for the main season track more enticing, especially some awesome reward at rank 100, and make the track actually somewhat challenging to complete, I think it could be really awesome to see. So to recap, I think that by keeping the core mana system and the rotational activity catalog for the duration of the season, yet just tying it to a brand new open world zone where you can get in a lobby with other players and take on these challenges would be awesome. And to top it off, adding some extra rewards and challenge to the main season track would be perfection. So, what do you guys think about my idea? If it wasn't clear up until now, this is just pure imagination here. I have no clue if they even have plans to shake up the season gameplay, but you know me, I love to theory craft about certain aspects to the game that I think could be improved, and this is one that I feel deserves a conversation held. So that's where you guys come in. Let me know down below what you guys think about my ideas on this and what ones of your own you'd add on or completely change from my proposition to make it the most fun experience possible for everyone. Thanks for watching everyone, leave a like if you enjoyed this video, and be sure to subscribe with notifications on so you can be updated every time I upload. Hopefully in the coming weeks leading to the closing of Season 1 and the start of Season 2, we can begin to hear about how Season 2 may change if it's going to, and what we have to look forward to. Let's hope it's good. Until the next one guys, RogueGold out.